a long time ago in a podcast far, far away. Just kidding. It was we only recorded a couple of days ago. I'm Pastor Dave. Sitting with me is Randall the Armor Bearer, and we are
They That Believe.
I owe you an apology, sir. I meant to tell you, and in the busyness of the holiday season and New Year's, I forgot. Sorry, but there was a new Star Wars movie that came out.
There was?
I knew you wanted to see it and would probably have been interested, but
man, I hadn't heard anything.
Yeah, I know. Those things kind of slip by if you're not paying attention. No, in fact, you've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, twice.
I've seen it twice. And I wanted to talk about it, and we're just going to spoil the crap out of it. So if you've not seen it, I don't know what's wrong with you, but go see it and come back and listen later, and don't send me an angry email because we spoiled it.
You've had plenty of time to see it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should talk about spoilers before we spoil things. What do you think, just intellectually, what are the rules on spoilers for you? Like, how long is too long? Does it depend on the film? Does it depend? You know, we're talking about Star Wars, and I was thinking today, because I just recently watched what is my favorite of the series, and probably everybody's favorite of the series, which is Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And, of course, the big reveal at the end of Empire is that, what's his face? Look at me, I'm such a Star Wars expert. Luke Skywalker is, or Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And even now, you know, if you listen to people talk about it and they'll go, well, spoiler alert, that's been 35 years. At what point, you got to think that people that have seen it, people that want to see it have seen it. And if you don't care, you don't care. And I'm one of those kind of people that I don't really even care about spoilers. I have never seen, even if it was something that I should not have known about a particular movie, it would have been the director, producer would prefer that you go in not knowing this so they can surprise you. I have never seen anything or had anything revealed to me that I can say legitimately spoiled the movie. Like, it ruined it for me. It ruined my enjoyment.
You know, I find that, like, if you watch a movie a couple times, when you go through, you see different things in each time you watch it that you didn't know before. Yeah,
the good films. And
yeah.
I probably have mentioned this, maybe I haven't. One of my favorites, I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. 2001 The Shining, and he's just one of those kind of guys. Paul Thomas Anderson, another of my favorite directors. Those are guys that put everything into every frame, every little detail, and they pour over those things. And you can find, and a lot of times in a lot of those movies, especially in Kubrick, you can find stuff that's you can find things that aren't even really there.
30 years later, they're still finding stuff in Kubrick's movies, and it's like, I didn't even notice that, you know?
Yeah, neither did he, right? Yeah. But that's the thing, too, you know, because depending on who it is, you know, Gretchen will look at those a lot of times, and she'll listen to me kind of pour over them, and she'll go, well, don't you just think maybe it was just this or maybe that? And you got to know Kubrick. You know, he was known for that, and there are photographs and video that exist of him on set turning cans and moving things around, and he was just known for that. Anyway,
have you seen that movie, that Room 237?
Yeah, that is, and what Randall's talking about, there's a film, I guess it's a documentary.
Yeah,
I guess it would be considered a documentary that sort of explores the theories about hidden text in The Shining, that it may be really about this, or what am I trying to say? Symbolism.
It like studies the character of the hotel itself.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll tell you, that's a good starting place. It's not a bad film, but it tries to cover a lot in a very short period of time. There are better that are out there if you're really interested. There's a guy, an Englishman, he has a bunch of videos on YouTube. I have some of his DVDs. His name is Rob Ager. I think that's how you say it. Ager, Ager. And his work actually, to me, is a lot better. Like, if having watched some of his analysis of not only those films, but other films, by the time I got to Room 237, it was like, it felt a little light.
Yeah.
Like, I've already seen all this
plus it's more for like a mass market.
Right.
You know.
If you want an introduction into what are some of the crazy things that people think about The Shining, that's a good place to start. Yeah,
like its own religion. People
Yeah, Room 237. It's worth watching. I think it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it was, unless they took it off this month or something like that. So what are the rules on the spoilers for you then? Like it's sort of like we were talking during our last show about how long you can say Happy New Year or whatever. Is there a time when, at some point, should not the concern for spoilers kind of expire or go away after 35 years? Is it not okay to say that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father?
How dare you? No, I think as soon as the movie's out, people are going to start talking about the different things that go on in it. And I think that's just part of watching a movie, is you try to share your experience.
And it's funny now even too to see critics and stuff try to review films.
Yeah.
Because they have to do this very delicate dance even when they review.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything.
Exactly. And that's has anybody ever really had something spoiled in the most literal sense, that it just ruined it for you?
I think it says something about a movie that you are worried about it being spoiled. Like, so many people are talking about it that you're worried that someone is going to tell you something that you're going to see in it,
Yeah, but people are babies too.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm getting at, is quit being babies about it.
Nobody's worried about spoilers in Gone with the Wind.
Or, God forbid, stay off the internet.
For real, yeah.
Everybody cruises the internet and surfs everywhere and looks for everything that they can find on the movie, and then complains when it's spoiled.
Yeah.
The Batman Superman thing. People whined and cried, and maybe I was among those. We want a trailer. We want a trailer. We want a trailer.
Don't show too much.
Give us footage, but don't show us too much. It's ridiculous. It's like, what do you want? Just you stay off the internet, hang out another few weeks, the movie will come out.
Or go see it. Just go watch the thing.
Well, they can't. Not Batman Superman's not out yet.
Well, yeah. It's coming out soon.
I'm saying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can really spoil a movie before it comes out, really. How would you do that?
Well, I mean, some you can, you Psycho.
Yeah.
That Norman Bates is the killer, or it's his mom, or Sixth Sense. There are some that obviously have those big moment endings. But if you think about even those movies, you could pretty much, other than those last few minutes, you could talk about everything else in the film. Mm-hmm. Again, people being a little babyish about, they showed us that too early, and everybody wants everything on their time, and I don't know. Anyway, let's get into Star Wars, and again, we're going to talk freely about it. We've both seen it twice. I'm assuming most of you have, and if not,
go see it.
Go see it, come back, or don't go see it and listen.
Wait for it to come out on DVD.
Either way. Yeah. Well, I'll just open up the floor to you. What are the circumstances that led you to see it twice? Did you go twice because you wanted to, or did you go because somebody wanted to?
It's the ideal date movie, I think, for the season. So, if you're going to a date in a movie, then Star Wars is probably the date you're going to.
Okay. So, but I mean, did you go on 2 dates?
Yes.
Now we're getting into things that aren't none of my business, I don't guess. I went twice. I took, during the Christmas break, Nathan was out of school. Well, Nathan and Gretchen both out of school. She teaches and he attends. She went to Ohio to visit family, so me and Nathan had some downtime. I said, "Do you want to go see Star Wars?" Yep. So went and watched it with him. As far as I know, he enjoyed it. Probably not as invested in it as a lot of people. I'm not really as invested in it as a lot of other people. And then when Gretchen returned from Ohio, see, she got mad too before she left. She's like, "What? Y'all are going to go see Star Wars without me?" And I said, "You know full well when you're in Ohio with your family, y'all are going to go see that movie." And they didn't.
Oh.
So she came back, and I said, "Okay, well, we'll take you." So that's I had to take each one of them separately. So that's how we wound up seeing it. Mm-hmm. So I'll just open the floor to you. Tell me what you thought about it.
Well, I loved it. I thought it was great. The characters were really deep, I thought. And there's still some backstory that's left to be talked about, too. I mean, it's weird how you see the families going through that series. You start out, if you go in order from episode 1 to now episode 7, you see the evolution of Anakin into Darth Vader, him and, Padme have Luke and Leia, and then now you're on to the next generation, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that Rey is probably going to end up being... You think Rey's going to end up being Luke Skywalker's daughter?
I'll get to that momentarily.
Okay.
I'm doubtful, and we all should be, for obvious reasons, but...
It seems like it would be too easy to say that she would be Luke Skywalker's daughter.
Well, since you brought it up, we'll go ahead and start there. And it seems a little out of order, but if we get off of that, we probably won't come back to it. And I'll say this, because I have a lot to say about it, but I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I did not dislike it, okay? And perhaps I'll say I liked it.
Oh, there you go.
But if I don't say that and you listen to me talk about it, you'll probably get the impression that I didn't. Mm-hmm. And there were many things that I didn't care for. I think it's a very flawed movie. Well, anyway, start there.
I think that they've got so much into the different universes now of Star Wars that it's bound to be flawed, because there's no way you can go specifically on what George Lucas said now, because there's so much other stuff going back and forth.
Yeah, then you have to have the conversation about what we consider canon. Mm-hmm. It's the thing that comic books have had to deal with for years too.
Comic books just don't care, though.
Well, they just create alternate universes.
Right, yeah.
You know, the Batman in Earth 2 is doing this, and the Batman in Earth 1 is doing that. So, you know, they cheat a little bit, and they all do. Marvel Universe has the multiverse is a big conceit of the comic book world. Mm-hmm. Not as easy to do here. I think it would even confuse people more if you tried to do this.
Probably right.
This is a Han Solo in a different universe.
Yeah.
Well, but you know, Abrams pretty much did that though with the first Star Trek, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So he kind of rewrote everything with a little time travel paradox or multiverse or some kind of thing.
They went back in time and killed Kirk's dad, and then Kirk got raised by a step parent and ended up being all crazy, and
so he changed the rules there that way. Well, the thing with Rey and her parentage, and everybody now, of course, we're already assuming and making a speculation that she's related to somebody anyway.
Right.
That's probably a safe assumption because she's so force sensitive and whatever. I'll come back to that later too. But here's my problem with that. I think it would make more sense to me that she would come closer to being in Obi-Wan Kenobi's lineage or whatever. But all of that is a problem for me because the Jedi Order and all of them were supposed to be, I guess celibate is a word, but they did not have any, by their code, didn't have any romantic entanglements and all of that. You know, they didn't, because they were dedicated to peace and the Jedi Order and all that, so they didn't have any, they weren't supposed to have family and all that. Now, Anakin / Darth Vader did, but that's part of his storyline, that he split or had a divergence. He had a divergence from his own order because he fell in love, and because of that, it becomes almost a Romeo and Juliet type tragedy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there is an exception there, yes, but and here's the other thing too. We've pretty much seen most of Luke Skywalker's life and he went into exile, and we're so far out of order. If we're going to start at the beginning of the movie. And Obi-Wan Kenobi and all that. I mean, like, when did they have time to go to a singles mixer and, you know, meet a girlfriend? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that all of this speculation is not the case, because if it is, and it's not because, you know, I'm one of those kind of geeks that's like, oh, no, that's not the rules. The rules are that it's just because it's such an easy conceit.
Right. It seems like it's the same movie over and over again.
Oh, it's somebody's cousin, it's somebody's daughter, it's somebody's, you know, if we just make it everybody is somebody's child, and we got to drop that convention at some point. But I just don't understand or see how Obi-Wan or Luke or any of these folks were supposed to have had time or against their own code to even have children. You know, Han and Leia and all that, I get that, but well, let's start back at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
Here's what's going on is the First Order is basically the new empire. They've arisen from the ashes of the empire that we thought was dead. The Republic is there, and they're trying to fight back against the encroaching fascism of the First Order that's trying to take over. And Luke Skywalker is missing, and he's been missing for some time. And Luke Skywalker, who is the one who is the best candidate to probably strike a blow to this new order, First Order, is sought. And for some reason, these people in the First Order are looking for the one guy who can destroy them.
Right.
Makes absolutely no sense. There's no reason that any of them should be looking for him. Mm-hmm. The guy's been in exile for 20 or 30 years.
Right.
Hey.
Just leave him alone.
Let's let him stay gone. Why are they even looking for him? That's how we start. So what do? Well, this whole movie comes off to me like a cover song. A garage band, a good garage band, maybe a good bar band, covering a song by their favorite band. All of the same elements are there. It's all very familiar ground. We've got the, farm boy who dreams of doing greater things. In this instance, it's a girl, mm-hmm. Who's making it on her own. They're salvaging junk, and she gets
girl too. Has to be a pretty girl.
Yeah, and she gets a droid, and guess what? The droid is carrying a message.
BB-8,
and we have to get the droid with the message. Any of this starting to sound familiar?
I do like the BB-8 though.
Yeah. Oh cool. No. As a droid, and as a character, he's cool. And it in many ways, I don't want to say it's a retread, or maybe it is a retread, not a remake. Some people kind of accused it of being that. I don't know that it's quite that. It's just if we saw this, imagine that we saw this movie and it was called something else. Mm-hmm. We'd be mad.
Yeah.
Because we go, well, they just plagiarized Star Wars.
Yeah, they just ripped off Star Wars.
Exactly. But, of course, we put the Star Wars label on it, mm-hmm. and it's like we can do the whole thing over again. I would have liked to have, if you're going to give us these new characters and this, then let's just do that. Mm-hmm. If you want to do a story about the characters we already know, the Hans and the Leias and the Luke Skywalkers, then let's do that. Mm-hmm. Let's not do this muddy thing. It was just so thin on story to me. Now, and that's going to come off odd to a lot of people, but I really want you to step back and look at how much story you really got.
Yeah, you didn't get a whole lot.
You really didn't get any.
You had to assume about some backstory.
Exactly.
And then you had to fill in the gaps where they came.
And that's sort of kind of lazy to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, they're so familiar with these characters, people won't care.
Right.
You can almost hear them saying that. And if we do it this way and that way, okay. So some positives. Daisy Ridley as Rey, absolutely love her. Mm-hmm. She was great. She, considering this is a really silly kind of space opera fantasy thing where people are fighting with laser swords and stuff, mm-hmm. she brings an earnestness to it, a legitimacy to it.
Right.
That I bought her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
That character.
Yeah.
There was just a right amount of emotion without it being too hammy. And Finn, didn't like it all. Did not buy him. Didn't buy his character.
Yeah, it seemed like he was just not. I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't a good character.
If you've got someone whose story is they were abducted as a child, mm-hmm.
Trained
to be a warrior,
mm-hmm.
a Spartan type warrior in this in this militaristic fascist state, and that's all he knows and that's all he's trained for. Probably not the best one to the best character for comic relief.
Right.
Every time he kind of gave us a one-liner or made a joke, I'm like, this is
he's not the new Han Solo for sure.
Either their training methods are very poor, or because he was just so sensitive.
As you get into like some of the backstories that people are making up for it, it's like kind of depressing. Like he was in a group of 4 people, and then his pod, one of the guys died, and that was the guy that put blood on his mask, and then that's what made him turn around and get away. And then the guy that's doing all those sick sword skills and yelling traitor at him.
TR-8R.
TR-8R.
Did you pick up on that? Uh-huh. The guy that yells traitor is
TR-8R. FN 2187.
Would he not be mad about that? Would the guy that hates traitors not be mad that he is TR-8R?
I don't think that's his actual name. I think that's what people have started calling him.
No, but he would be in the credits. That's TR-8R. Isn't that how he's credited? That's what I thought. Okay, I don't know. So maybe I shouldn't say. But yeah, you just nailed it. This kid who's had this awful traumatic, it reminds me of like these you hear in these third world countries, mm-hmm. where children are abducted and made to fight for their what do you call them, insurgents
child
or
soldiers.
rebels. Yeah, that kind of thing. But he just seemed a little too okay for me. Mm-hmm. He seemed a little too well adjusted.
Right.
Where's his psychological damage?
Like you would think that somebody that was raised like that wouldn't have any emotions at all.
Right.
I mean, you'd think they'd just be straight to business.
And I even get him struggling with it.
Yeah.
Or having a bout of conscience. But to be able to make jokes and stuff in between, it just didn't come off to me. I'm like, he should have been, let's make him a little heavier. Mm-hmm. But see, he has to fit into this convenient place for the story to keep things. Right. He's kind of a glue that ends up connecting all these people. Mm-hmm. So Poe Dameron, I like. Didn't get enough of him. Yeah.
I hope with the next couple movies that maybe I'm sure they'll show more of him, but
his scenes always felt very rushed. Again, just kind of pushing the story along. Like when he and Finn meet, it's like, who are you? Well, I'm trying to escape. Well, I'm going to help you escape. Can you fly one of these? Okay, we're going to do this thing. Yeah. Boom. That conversation took place in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, and then they land or crash land or whatever, and the thing eats him and he's gone. And then all of a sudden he's back again at the end of the movie.
Right. Well, there you go. You've been spoiled from the trailers. He's coming back.
Right.
But just how quick and convenient everything is decided. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to do this. Okay. Yeah. You want to escape? Yeah, I want to escape. Let's escape. All right.
But Mom won't let me go over across the street.
Cool. Probably didn't get enough of him. Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, our new bad guy. I like that.
Yeah.
I think he's probably...
Have you seen the Kylo Ren, emo Kylo Ren Twitter account?
No. I've heard
hilarious.
About it.
It is hilarious.
It's pretty funny. And Saturday Night Live has already started having fun with it. Apparently did a sketch with the undercover boss.
Undercover boss where he's mad.
Yeah. Here's what I like about that. Adam Driver I love. Like the emotional struggle and all the problems, the baggage that he's carrying. See, that's what that's what you would think I would have expected with Finn.
Right.
With Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, I like the idea. People have been critical about him throwing temper tantrums and smashing stuff with his lightsaber. Mm-hmm. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Because you've got someone there's a maturity issue there.
Right.
He's obviously got some power that he's not completely.
And he's still a kid too.
Yeah. And he wants so badly to be something.
You want to hear the worst thing I've heard so far? I didn't even think about it when I was watching the movie. Okay, here we go. Ben Solo, which is Kylo Ren, his real name, growing up as a child, right? Him and his dad, Han Solo, are, if you can imagine, Ben's probably Han's co-pilot a lot of times. Probably takes his kid to work with him all the time. Who's there with him all the time?
Who's there with who?
With Han Solo and
Chewbacca?
Chewbacca, yeah. All the time, right? So Chewbacca's seen this kid grow up from when he was a baby till now. Chewbacca's had this kid. He's probably like the cool uncle this kid always wanted, Okay. Chewbacca has probably took him out to his first concert or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Chewbacca probably snuck him into the bar a couple times.
The cantina.
Who is the one that shoots Kylo Ren in the end?
Right.
Chewbacca. Can you imagine how tough that would be for Chewbacca?
Didn't look tough.
Yeah.
Looked like he was pretty quick on the draw to me.
And could you imagine how hurtful that would be from...
I have thought about that, though, that even if they didn't have a close relationship, that's still his closest friend.
Right.
Son and whatever. That's kind of, yeah.
So I didn't even think about it. I was watching the movie, and a couple days later I saw it. I was like, oh, man, I didn't even think of that.
I haven't fleshed out in my mind that big, long backstory, but I like the Kylo Ren, and I like and it's something in young people, that aspire to be, that idolize things that they shouldn't, or, are seduced by things that they shouldn't be, and that he wants to have all this power that grandfather had, and he's trying to, he's making his homemade masks and his homemade lightsabers that are just a little off, and he wants so desperately to be that. But then, of course, throughout the film is often reminded that he falls short. Mm-hmm. He's not quite the man that he wants to be, but that arc is good, and there's so much room for him.
Right, he can grow. He can grow a lot.
Either way. I mean, he has the potential to become the supreme baddie of the universe.
Right.
Or, there's still just that glimmer of hope.
Like Darth Vader did at the end. He kind of turned it around a little.
Maybe we can reach him and redeem him and all that. Okay. Here's the major spoiler in all of this, too. Han Solo is no longer with us. He's gone. Yeah. So, and dies at the hand of his own son. Didn't care so much about that. Did you know that before you went in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I did too.
I'd seen the spoiler on that.
And it didn't spoil the movie for you?
No.
It didn't ruin it.
Yeah, because where else could Han go after that? I mean, there's really, in this new universe, there's no real place for him to go.
Sure.
In the second movie, you know what I mean?
Right. And anybody, if you're a true fan and you're worried about all these things being ruined, then you know that Harrison Ford has, for a long time, lobbied for that character to be killed off.
He tried to get killed in like the second movie.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, was it that one or yeah? I guess it was. Yeah, it was that one. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. Yeah, they had tried to do it a couple of times, or it had been written, or he wanted it to. Whatever. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be too cavalier. Probably didn't really care that much.
Right. It didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would. I thought, oh man, Han Solo's dead. But
here are my problems with that, though. Where was the funeral?
Yeah.
I was really, really disappointed at how, because everybody's like, this is such a big deal. And if you're in the audience, depending on which audience you were in, you might have heard a gasp or two, if anybody didn't know going in. And that's it.
Yeah.
Even when they return and there's Leia, then Chewbacca's getting off and all this, and they embrace and have this great... No, they didn't. Mm-hmm. She walked right by him.
Yeah.
With no acknowledgement at all. Mm-hmm. Goes to talk to this girl who she barely knows.
Right. Unless it's her niece.
And,
we don't know.
Yeah. It all felt so unfitting.
Right. Especially after that scene with Darth Vader where they had the funeral for him. And
you know what I wanted? Was the end of Wrath of Khan. I want the bagpipes.
Yeah.
Of all of my friends, he was the most human. Where was that?
Yeah.
For this beloved character, arguably maybe one of the most beloved of the entire series. And everybody so worked up about him coming back and about him getting killed. And I haven't really heard anybody say that. The whole thing seems so unfitting to me. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like we killed him off.
Right.
But we didn't really properly.
It felt like kind of like an add-in at the end. Like, we got a couple extra minutes. Let's just kill Han Solo. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't planned very well.
And let's just talk about the way it was done. Let's look at that whole scene. Mm-hmm. That remind you of anything?
Every other time that any other main character has been killed off in Star Wars.
How about the time that Luke and Vader met on Bespin?
Yeah.
I'm your father, and they have it out. Now, the roles here are flipped. If you watch it, it's the same scene.
Just backwards.
With a little role reversal. In this instance, the father trying to redeem the son.
Right.
And rather than, hey, my son, we can rule the galaxy together, he's saying, my son who's trying to rule the galaxy, come home with me and we can live in peace together.
Right.
And to a degree, that makes it clever. Mm-hmm. To another degree, it's plagiarism.
Right.
Sort of. A consensual plagiarism. I don't know which side of that I really fall on. But yeah, I wanted my Wrath of Khan Spock funeral. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you not think that it deserved that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That just once we killed him, we were on to the next thing.
Right. Next scene. Kylo Ren in the forest hit himself in the chest.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. Yeah. I did like that. Very Spartan.
Yeah.
That's a kid he's got a lot of fight in him. He's got a lot of heart. Yeah, he got some issues. And then in the last couple of minutes, Rey with her lightsaber comes and finds Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And very conveniently, R2-D2, who, since Luke has been gone, has been suffering from some kind of robot depression.
Right.
and arbitrarily powered himself down, and then again arbitrarily at the end of the movie, just when it's convenient and we need him,
Robot Prozac work.
he decides to turn back on.
Well, BB-8 came, and he's kind of a cool little guy, so maybe he was one to play.
Talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Counseled him.
Right.
All just very convenient. And
BB-8 seems kind of like R2-D2's puppy.
And so there's Luke Skywalker, and the credits roll.
Can we get back to the lightsaber first?
Please.
Okay. So they go to this cantina, and, Rey is upset because Finn's leaving, and she does the emotional running off, and happens down this hallway, into this corridor, into this room where there's this chest, which is the same chest that Obi-Wan Kenobi had that he produced the lightsaber out of to begin with.
I may not have picked up on that.
And it's Luke's original lightsaber, which should have been lost, The
last time we saw it, it fell with his severed hand down the ventilation shaft or whatever that was in Bespin. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So how does she get this lightsaber back to begin with? And then it calls to her.
Yeah. Well, and there's your case for her being connected somehow or another. How does Maz Kanata, is that? I may have that wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
And she basically functions as the Yoda character, and she's exposition. She shows up to tell story and push everything along. I've heard a lot of people get upset about that. How does she have it? Why does she have it? Not so much I didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't. She just got it.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that some other dude found the Millennium Falcon and it got traded around or whatever. I'm not as concerned with that.
A lot of convenience in the story, though. The Millennium Falcon gets found by Han Solo and Chewbacca, and you know what I mean? Well, first they're on the planet, and the Millennium Falcon happens to be there on the planet that they're at.
Right.
And then Finn and Rey happen to find the Millennium Falcon, which happens to work after 20 years of not working.
Well, yeah, all you got to do is reach up and bang your fist on the on the console,
right,
and that'll make it work.
And then when they take off, they just happen to get caught by Han Solo and Chewbacca.
Well, in fairness, though, now they had been looking for it.
Yeah,
they had been had their feelers out or had been scouting for it, and once it was in the air, once it was flying, they could track it or find it.
Yeah,
that's the way I took it.
Okay,
so I was willing to go that way with them. So, yeah, now that you mentioned it, I was kind of going to circle back, but you've already brought us there. We watched 3 movies where Luke, the young farm boy, the immature farm boy, becomes this great wise master. And even then, we're told at the end, your training is not yet complete, and the whole idea is that he was always just a little behind his call, or a little in front of his call, so to speak.
Well, you think of when Anakin first started training, and they said, well, he's too old to train. He was, 6, 7? And then Luke was a teenager when he started.
Yeah, well, Yoda says that to Obi-Wan. He says he's too old.
Right.
And Ben says something to that effect, or, was I any more this when you trained me? And they have that whole back and forth where Ben has to kind of talk him into it.
Right.
Yoda's like, he's too old. He's too immature. He's too this. He's too that. I don't like him. Obi-Wan, please. Okay. But Rey apparently stumbles in to Force power, and within a matter of moments is swinging lightsabers and using Jedi mind tricks, and then all of a sudden just has it.
Right.
And so I don't know if I was really ready to come that far.
Some people had mentioned that in her past, before she came to the planet she was on, that she was trained some, and then they used some sort of Jedi mind wipe to wipe her mind as to what happened before.
No. I'm not going to do. Why do you have to cook all that up? See, the very fact that you have to cook all that kind of stuff up just shows that it's ridiculous.
But see, it works because they could have got her out just before Anakin went in and killed all the younglings.
If you make up some crazy story, you can make it work. No, and don't go back and do, but this, but that. It doesn't require all that. I think it was just the fact that she's supposed to be connected to somebody. We'll find out later. She's force sensitive in whatever way. And just for convenience of the story, because we don't have time, she's got to start using these powers now.
Yeah, immediately.
And going back to that, I did like Rey, with the exception of some of the conceits of the whole, you know, I'm a girl, I can do it, I don't need you.
Right.
She said, quit holding my hand and quit doing, I can do it. And
girl power.
After a few of those, it starts to get a little old. Somebody pointed out, and I really like this, a place where that kind of, where that because everybody's like, oh, this strong female character and how great it is to see Star Wars for girls and all that. All of which is true, other than that's exactly why you don't need to push down on that every few minutes with, don't hold my hand, I can do it.
Well, you've had some really, really great female leads in that show.
What somebody pointed out to me, and I thought this was pretty awesome, a good example of how it's done right and how it's done well, even though I'm not necessarily a big fan of these movies, is the whole Hunger Games thing. Mm-hmm. Because from the moment those things start, Katniss, your hero, your heroine, steps up, goes, leads the whole thing, never looks back, and there's never even any mention, indication, insinuation that anybody needs to come to her rescue or that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not even acknowledged.
Well, they're on even playing ground from the beginning. There's no, you know, they don't give them a little heads up because they're a girl, you know.
She just doesn't have to put it on. She doesn't even have to say, don't hold my hand, I can do it. Don't, blah, blah, blah. We just accept it. It's there, and none of us question it. So I don't know why that's even, I think it's sort of almost a soft sexism to do it the other way.
Right.
And to go, well, we need to remind people that she's strong and can do it. No, you don't.
Well, I mean, Leia didn't need any of that stuff.
But now you say the characters, now, other than her, other than Princess Leia, who else has there been?
Padme.
Yeah.
The original princess.
As far as who you could call, though, really heroes, these are the princesses in distress, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Padme was kind of I think she was a complex character.
She was a victim of everything going on around her and was a diplomat and a politician. But let's be fair, at least the role she plays is sort of, or her presence is sort of secondary or tertiary to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe you're right about that. But I do see her as a strong character.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nobody in there who's saving the day. Like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's no female, there's no Rey in this. There's no Katniss. You know, there is now. So it's like we've already gone there with you. Don't give me I can do it.
Right.
I don't need your help.
We know you can.
You know, I'm a girl. I
We're
can
behind
do it.
you.
We got that. Yeah. Don't do that thing. Just do Katniss with us. We're bought in. Let's go. And we're bought in so much that we can accept the fact that she's become a Jedi Master in a half hour.
Right.
Whatever. What else to say about that? It feels a little too much like just basically like an advertisement for the next movie.
Right.
When we meet Luke Skywalker there at the end, that should have been somewhere to the end of the second act, beginning of the third act. We should have met him and gone somewhere else and not lingered as long as we did in other places, unless you wanted to save for that third act the funeral, the memorial for Han Solo that we did not get. And I'm not understanding why I don't see the outrage about that. I would have expected fans to be furious about that. The franchise did not properly say goodbye to its biggest character, or one of its biggest characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think Han was probably, when I was a kid and before I knew, I used to think Han was Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? I used to think that he was the main character in the movie. But I think he was the main character.
And we didn't need something it didn't need to take 10, 20 minutes to do it.
Right.
Just anything to acknowledge it. And it's like even the characters, once they met after it happened, there was really no acknowledgement of it.
Well, like that when Darth Vader dies and they do that little funeral for him, it's not maybe a minute long.
Yeah, and that's appropriate because really it's only attended by the only person who could attend.
Right.
Which is Luke, which is his son.
Then the spirits, of...
Yeah, the Force ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's not one, you wouldn't expect a whole lot of people to turn out for his funeral.
Right.
But yeah, just a proper way to acknowledge it.
And into the character.
And even among the characters that were still in the film, it just was not acknowledged. And I don't understand that. And I don't see anybody getting upset about that.
Maybe he's coming back.
Dude. He was impaled on a lightsaber.
Yes.
He then fell down the shaft, and then they blew up the planet/space station that he was on.
Okay, so maybe that's why there wasn't a funeral. It wasn't a body.
I think he's gone. Not an expert on these things, but I imagine there's probably he is now stardust.
A little
literally.
overkill. A little overkill for him.
Exactly. There should be no doubt. There should be absolutely no doubt. Yeah, well, there, I missed that whole thing. Let's blow up another Death Star. And, if you really, these First Order guys, if you really want to learn and you really model yourself, and it was cool because they did all seem a little younger.
Right.
You really want to be, like your fascist heroes of old. Could we maybe not improve a little bit on
the exhaust port?
You're 3 steps ahead of me.
Oh.
If you're gonna build one of these stupid things, could we not leave a big hole with a big arrow that says drop bombs here? And you know what's so funny when they're planning it, this whole thing, how little time they even spend on it. They start looking at the picture and all that. And was it Han Solo that's like, there's always a way to blow them up, and they're kind of like, yeah, you're right. Let's just go blow it up. They didn't even bother with the whole, well, if we come down this way and if we drop it, just the precise, they didn't even bother to explain.
They're like,
you don't need all that.
Yeah.
We're going to go blow it up.
It's
going
to be gone. So
just stick around a few minutes. We're going to go blow it up.
That should have been the whole movie, just a big picture of that thing blowing up and then the end.
And the ham-fisted callbacks, I think some people liked, the trash compactor reference and stuff. I heard a lot of people that really, they really like that. Oh, he said it just like in the other movie when they said it there, and woo. To me, it felt a little ham-fisted. I'm like, okay, I know. I'm watching a Star Wars movie.
Right, you expect stuff, some stuff to carry over.
It just seemed like it was there for that purpose.
Right.
For them to go, ooh, they'll like this because they said it in the other movie. Yeah, they said it again.
Okay, we know they're going to be mad about some of this stuff. How do we make them happy again? Oh, okay, we'll put in some references.
Oh, he did that again, just like he did in the other movie. I don't know, man. I did hear some other stuff. Lando Calrissian maybe coming back.
Be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Billy D. Williams.
One of my favorite characters.
Yeah. So that ought to be interesting. And there's room for him to kind of see how awesome would that have been at the end? Like if we get our Wrath of Khan funeral with the bagpipes and
Billy D's there,
and the camera just pans up, like everybody's standing around, and maybe he's like, I don't want to say officiating, but camera pans up above the casket or whatever, and he's standing there.
Right.
I get chills just thinking about, why? Why could we not do that? He would not even have to have dialogue, wouldn't have to. But how great would it have been, like, to have him there and Luke there? You know what I'm saying? Admiral Akbar, all these people standing around.
Of course, Leia there crying. And
yes. Even she barely whimpered.
Right.
I didn't get that. I mean, we got a little emotion from her.
Because you kind of felt, like, if you didn't know that he was going to die when you went into it, you kind of felt like they were going to get back together. When you got through the movie and they started meeting each other again, you kind of felt like, oh, they're going to get back together.
See, honestly, I got the feeling, the mood between them almost implied to me that they were never really together at all. In that, I don't know how to explain it. And here's the other thing, talking about Han Solo. They did him so dirty in this movie. Why is he a deadbeat dad?
Yeah. I caught that too.
Let's go back to the beginning. When we meet him at the beginning in Star Wars, and he's this smuggler, gambler, scoundrel, whatever he is, and not even a very good one. He's never even been a good smuggler.
No, he's always getting caught.
He's always getting caught, dumping his load and outrunning people that he owes money to. So he's not even good at it anyway. But he's, barely scraping by, and he doesn't really care much for people. He's very cynical and very jaded and all this. And then by the end, we carry through with his arc. He comes to the rescue and then steps up a little more, starts to care about people. He starts to let people in.
Right.
And maybe falls in love with Leia, has a respect and a friendship with Luke, comes to understand that there are causes more noble than himself, that there are things like the Force that are greater than himself. He's been too cynical. Then by the time, we get through Jedi, you know, he's whatever he is, a general or a commander,
Right.
and he's really a leader.
General
and
Solo.
He's saving the day.
Yeah.
And
He gets a little medal at the end.
here we jump several years later, and he's right back to where he was.
He's bad smuggler again.
And this is the one thing that also bugged me about this movie. Probably my number one complaint about this entire movie. They undid so much of what we have. They undid so much of the mythology. So much of it now doesn't even matter. And to undo his story that way, why is Kylo mad at him?
Right.
Why is he a deadbeat dad?
You think between him and Leia, I mean, you think they'd be pretty good parents.
But that's the thing. I don't get the impression that he was there with her.
Yeah.
You know, she barely seems. It's kind of like, well, there were some good times. I'll just try to remember those. It's like she doesn't even really like him. He's like, hey, it wasn't all bad, was it? She's like, there was a couple of good days, but anyway, they just undid so much for him, and that undoes so much of our story and our mythology. And I'm not even a big Han Solo guy. I mean, he's okay, and I like it, and he's important,
Right.
But if that's one of your favorite characters, I would think you got to be upset about the way that they did him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why am I the only one that's upset about Han Solo?
It is. It's a rough way to think about him going, but how else could he have gone out, you think?
Well, the way he was dispatched is fine, but let's not undo so much of his story. And when he does go, let's give him what he deserves.
Maybe the second movie starts with Han's funeral. You never know.
Yeah, because that's the way to start a summertime Star Wars blockbuster, with a funeral. No, see, that they may try to do that, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Do you think he'll make appearances in the other movies?
I don't see how.
I mean, just like in flashbacks or something. You think?
No.
You don't think so?
Well, I think Harrison Ford is done.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think he's finished with it.
Yeah, and probably has been for a while. Now, they're supposedly, you may know more about this than I do, they're going to make
they're going to make 2 standalone movies.
A prequel, maybe.
Yeah.
Young Han Solo kind of thing, like
Right.
a young Indiana Jones kind of thing. The big internet buzz is, who everybody's going with their fantasy casting choices and
Right.
all that. I haven't seen anybody yet that just really jumps out to me.
Yeah, I was amazed at how much Kylo Ren did look like a young Han Solo.
Really? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think at all.
Really, when you look at them side by side?
Oh, I didn't think at all. No. There is no way that kid is the son of those two. Not a chance. Are you kidding me?
That's the next episode of Maury.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Yeah. But that's one of those things that's fine.
See, I think they do
I'm
look
willing
alike,
to buy
though.
that. I'm willing to buy that.
It's the nose and the mouth thing. I think it makes
Nose?
Yeah.
That kid's nose is huge.
So is Harrison Ford's.
You crazy.
All right. I'll get some side-by-side pictures and Facebook them to you.
All right. Anything else we need to say about Star Wars? Did we cover it? Now you understand why I wanted to make sure that I tell people that I didn't dislike it.
Well, I'm excited about the standalone movies. I think they're going to be pretty good. I don't know. I really like this movie. I like the way it was shot. I like the story behind it, really. I think that it could have been, some of that could have been taken out and they could have made a better movie by extending it a little bit. Take out some of that smush that's in the middle and maybe adding some better stuff at the end. But, and it's the guy's first shot at Star Wars. I don't know if he took it seriously. Do you think he took it seriously enough?
Yeah. Oh, I think he had to.
Do you think George Lucas would have made the same movie?
That's so funny because after people just really excoriated the father of all this, George Lucas, I have actually now seen that people are petitioning and crying for him to come back.
Right.
Here's what all that means. Would Lucas have made a similar? Probably.
Yeah, I think
honestly,
so.
I think it probably.
I don't know if he would have set it like, it seems like it's set more retro back to the original 3. I don't know if he would have said it like that, but I think it would have been, the storyline would have been very similar.
I think it wouldn't have been too terribly different. Maybe.
And costumes and characters might be a little different, but
Here's the thing. Whatever this Star Wars movie is that people think is out there that has yet to be made, that's going to hit all the right notes and resonate with childhood, but, carry the story forward. This perfect Star Wars movie that everybody envisions, it's just not there.
right.
It cannot be made. And it's not so much because of the story or the filmmakers or the producers or any of that. It's because of us.
Right.
There's no way to experience any of that the way you did experience it.
Well, I was thinking too, because my mom was at the premiere at Grumman's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. She was at the premiere of the original Star Wars there. And I was at the premiere of Episode 1 in Indianapolis.
Huh.
Different stages, and I remember thinking Episode 1 was just amazing because it was like that's where the story started. But you can also go back to Episode 3 and say, hey, or Episode 4, hey, that's where the story started too, But this one you couldn't really, unless you'd seen the ones before it, it wouldn't stand alone if you just saw it.
This most recent one,
right?
You don't think?
I don't think if you didn't have the development behind it of knowing the other movies, I don't think you would understand possibly everything in it.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask about Star Wars memories.
Mm-hmm.
When did you catch one? See, because I know you're a couple of years younger than me. When you born? 77, 78?
I was born 80.
Oh, wow. You're much younger than I thought you were. Okay. So, all right. We were already a couple in then because the first one came out in 77.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I'm trying to think what you would not have remembered probably seeing any of the originals in the theater.
No.
You weren't born, I guess.
I did see the third one, but I was little. I was probably like 2. I think it came out in 82, 83?
Return of the Jedi we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's where our experiences may be similar. I saw the first one, the original Star Wars, which is now called A New Hope, Episode 4. It wasn't at the time. I did see it in the theater. I was 3 years old. I was born in 74, and that movie hit in 77. And just a funny story about this is what that movie experience was like for me to be 3 years old, maybe 3.5. Mm-hmm. There's a portion in there when Luke goes out to find Ben or whatever he's doing out wandering around in the desert in the hills, and the Sand People attack him,
mm-hmm.
and they club him and knock him out and drag him back or whatever. Well, in my 3-year-old little mind, I had not yet understood or had known the concept of being knocked unconscious. I thought when they hit him, I thought they killed him. I mean, I wasn't especially, that's all I knew.
Uh-huh.
They clubbed him and he's out and they dragged him.
He's dead.
I thought he was dead. And it really confused me because then a little bit later on,
he was resurrected.
He wakes back up, and I remember kind of shaking my head, and I was asking my dad, trying to get it. I was like, what's he doing? Why is he back? I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, they killed him. And he was like, no, they didn't kill him. They knocked him out. I was like, what do you mean? Well, you can sometimes go unconscious, like sleeping or almost dead. But
here,
then
let me show you.
Yeah, right. And it's funny what kids think. I
Right.
had no concept in my little mind of being knocked unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. I wonder now, had I not had that little aside and had that thing happened in the movie, I wonder how much I would actually remember about going to the movie.
Worried about the guy coming back from the dead.
Sure. And I don't really have vivid memories of it. I do remember sitting in the theater and watching it. And then, of course, later on, I Empire after that. And so I was there really on the front end, just barely. But I did get to see them all. I've seen them all in a movie theater.
Of course, Mom's going to listen to this, so she's going to probably correct me. But I think that we watched the Return of the Jedi at the drive-in in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, my dad used to make like popcorn and stuff and bring it with us, and little pizzas and stuff and bring it with us. But I remember being just really impressed with it. But then I remember when the first 3 movies came out, like movies 1, 2, and 3,
mm-hmm.
I was just getting out of high school, and then the girlfriend I had then was really into Star Wars. I mean, like total Star Wars nerd. And that was really weird back now. It's like pretty common for a girl to be a Star Wars nerd, but
right, yeah.
Back then it was really weird. And she wanted to be in line to go see this movie first when it first came out. So,
yeah, there was a time when comic books and science fiction and all that stuff was for geeks and nerds and whatever. And of course now comic books,
right,
and science fiction, all that stuff is mainstream.
Right.
It's cool to be.
Yeah, there's a girl I went to high school with that's a cosplayer now.
Yeah.
And I would never have guessed that she would grow up to dress like Magneto or, you know what I mean?
You know, and you were talking about some of the more recent movies that are earlier. We call them prequels, but now I'm hearing people get mad about that. They're like, they're all prequels now. Mm-hmm. You know what we mean.
Right.
The episodes 1, 2, and 3. I watched episode 3 yesterday, and I really like that one.
Yeah,
it still holds up. That still is. It's bloated with the effects, and the dialogue is pretty poorly written. George Lucas is, by his own admission, not a good writer.
Right.
But as far as pushing that story, as far as occupying an important place in this mythology, that one really, to me, is as close as, you know, people say, trying to get to this Star Wars movie that we think we're all looking for.
Right.
That one, to me, has come as close.
Yeah, a lot of changes in that one. That's when everything really starts going to the dark side. And
it's the big bridge.
Yeah, and the first one was just the newest one. It was like in 98, I think. So we're looking almost 20 years after the first movie came out, a little over 20 years.
Then you have to allow room for that Phantom Menace effect, which is everybody is so excited about it, and it comes out, and everybody loves it, and it's the greatest of all time.
Right.
And of course, now
you look at
that we've had time to sit on it, it was pretty awful.
Right, it wasn't good at all. And the second one was just weird.
But you could not tell anybody that.
Right.
Back in whatever, 98, whatever it was that came
99.
out. There's no way you were going to convince anybody of that.
And plus the build up to it. You remember the build up to episode 1?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Star Wars cups that came out in the movies, and I mean, like for months, all you heard about was Star Wars.
I think easily it was a bigger cultural event than this.
Yeah.
This J.J. Abrams, this new one, because there had been so much more time.
I remember getting a cup from Taco Bell that had Anakin Skywalker as the pod racer on it, and it was like a sculpture. I mean, it looked like it was real Anakin Skywalker. And I remember just being so just in awe of this cup from Taco Bell, that it had this much detail in it.
If you had to rank them, how would you rank them? Well, we got 7 of them now, right?
Right.
Or at least your top 5. Is there any way that Empire is not number 1 on your list?
No, it's number 1. So you go what? 4, 5, 6, 3, 7, 2, 1.
And that's another thing too, with people that are just absolutely head over heels and in love with this new one. It's so great. And because I got to thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I was doing this myself, and I thought, I wonder how other people would answer this. Start ranking them then.
Yeah.
Let's see where it ranks. And it's going to be pretty low. Mm-hmm. And not that it's a bad film, again, but this is the greatest ever. I'm like, is it really? You see how it compares to your others.
It's better than 1 and 2, I would think.
Of the prequels, The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I'll give you that.
Attack of the Clones was a different movie. It was just kind of strange. Like it didn't belong.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird though. The story was weird.
Well, it's the second act of a 3-part story. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Empire is too, and that's why it's strange, but it works for Empire.
Right.
Because Empire ends on a weird note.
Right.
On a strange, kind of a dark place with a lot of things not resolved.
Right.
But it works for whatever reason. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. Maybe other folks that listen can respond or send us a message. I'm curious what ranks there at the top for. I can't imagine. I mean, there may be some that still, if they're a year or 2 older than me, we're old enough to really appreciate and really see that first one in the theater and
New Hope.
Get that experience. I did, but I was 3.
Right.
If I'd have been 7 or 8,
see,
I probably would have had a different experience.
When my mom went,
those folks probably put that one at number 1.
She was talking about people that were like dressed up like the characters. And then of course, since it was in Grumman's, all the star Han Solo and Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and all of them were actually there at the premiere.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So it was a really big deal. So I imagine she probably ranks that pretty high.
That's what I'm saying. The folks that were old enough to really experience it that first time through, they are probably the ones that are going to tell you that first one is, they might rank that above Empire.
Right.
But I think all of us, in hindsight, if we're being honest, recognize it, Empire. And it's kind of funny because it's one that George Lucas, out of all of them, I guess, probably had the least, what am I trying to say? He didn't have as much of a hand in.
Right.
He did a lot of the editing, and that really is where the story's told. But, it was directed by Irvin Kershner, and Lawrence Kasdan did the writing and stuff. So it's good on that end.
So who's your favorite underrated character of all the movies?
Underrated character?
Like I love Darth Maul. I think he could have been such an awesome character.
Yeah, it didn't do much with him, did they?
Right. I mean, I think he just, his look and the way he was, I think he could have been a really awesome character.
There's some pretty deep mythology there, that we may never get a chance to see. Darth Plagueis, the Wise. That's an incredible little nugget of a story there. We've only been given a little bit, but
right.
The Sith, who was so powerful that he had sway over life and death, and we may never get any more of that story.
Right.
But that just really captured my fancy for some reason. When they're having that scene and they're sitting there, let me tell you of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and you're like, yeah, tell me what? That's crazy.
So who's the worst character you think out of all of them?
The worst character?
Yeah.
I mean, Jar Jar Binks is the easy.
That's the first one everybody thinks of.
He's
is
the
Jar
easy
Jar
pick.
Binks.
Yeah. A little too condescending, a little too juvenile.
That whole movie had some really rough characters in it. Just some stupid.
Yeah.
The little guy that flies that was Anakin's boss. Watto, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then the little guys that lived in the water. Jar Jar Binks' family. All those guys were little nuts.
Where do you hope we go from here then?
Well,
what do you want to see in the next one?
We want to figure out who Rey really is.
Okay. Number one, let's get more of Rey's backstory.
You want to see Kylo grow up a little bit. You want to see him mature as a character.
Okay.
You want to get into was it Snoke? The
Supreme Leader Snoke?
Yeah, you want to get into who that is. Some people are claiming that it could be Darth Vader himself.
No, we've already seen him. We've already seen him as a Force ghost.
Yeah. But that could be the light Force ghost. There could be a dark Force.
No.
Okay. Who else we want to see?
So I'm gathering a theme already. You're looking for backstory.
Right.
I want to know more about Rey. I want to know more about Kylo Ren.
The only one I really don't care about the backstory on would be Finn. Because I really don't care if I hear his backstory. You think
he's giving us no reason to.
Right. You think he's going to wake up in the next one? Like
oh yeah,
Luke
we left him injured.
Carbonite or whatever.
Probably. I don't know. I don't care.
Because when I saw the previews,
if we need some jokes.
When I saw the previews, I thought he was going to be an awesome character, just from the way he acted and stuff in the trailers. But I really was disappointed with his character.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we've come full circle. Well, we'll just call this one the entire Star Wars episode.
Yes.
So if you agree or disagree or don't have an opinion,
may the Force be with you.
Let us know. Log on to Facebook to tell us. I don't have an opinion on any of this mess. Many people don't. There's a lot of them out there. I've heard a lot of people that are just so sick of it anyway. But
right.
I get that. If you're, I'm not that invested in Star Wars.
You want to take a minute to talk about the upcomings that are coming up? You got with Deadpool, Batman vs Superman.
Nah, we got time for that. Batman, Superman's March, and
Deadpool's coming up quick, though, isn't it?
Is it?
I think so.
I haven't really followed much on that.
I've already seen billboards for it. The billboard's hilarious. They got Ryan Reynolds, and the female character in the movie, and it looks like a love story.
Oh,
they got them sitting there, and it's like everybody's asking their wives and girlfriends they want to go see the movie because they show the picture of them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's coming out Valentine's Day."
Oh wow, I get it. I get the joke. Yeah, that's a lot of humor there. But going to be pretty rough. That's not one you want to take the kids to. No. Listen to me. To me. If you don't know, Deadpool is not Avengers. Okay,
no, he is totally separate.
It'll be very vulgar and
there will be some language
very violent.
Yeah,
and I'll get around to seeing it. He's like not my favorite. You know what I mean? Everybody kind of has stuff they're invested in. And
a lot of people are invested in Deadpool though, and I've never even paid attention to him. A lot of people.
And he was really only started as something kind of small, but took off.
Yeah.
Took off. Rob Liefeld, I think, created him. Either way, we'll have time to get to all that. Batman, Superman's coming in March, and then Avengers Civil War coming in May, and
the Suicide Squad.
Suicide. It's going to be a good year for movies. Right. I will definitely be in the movie theater a lot more this year than I was last year. Mm-hmm. So, all right, well, let's bring it home. Let's sign off. We appreciate you listening. Appreciate you hitting the download button. If you haven't yet, be sure and tell a friend and check out our webpage, theythatbelieve.com, and stop by on Facebook, because we know you're all on Facebook, and you're all on Facebook spoiling Star Wars.
Right.
So while you're doing that, go over to facebook.com/theythatbelieve, drop in, say hi, tell us what you thought and how mad you are at Dave because he didn't like Star Wars. I did like it. I did like it. I know it doesn't sound like it.
He ruined the movie.
I know it doesn't sound like it.
He ruined the magic of Star Wars.
No, I'm not going to ruin. I don't ruin Star Wars, right? I'm just one little person. There's no way I could ruin Star Wars. I don't have that much dark side in me. So
Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah. Okay. That's Randall over there. I'm Pastor Dave, and we are
They That Believe.